Space Station Flight Control Room. This is Mission Control Houston bringing you live coverage today of the launch of Northrop Grumman's 13th cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. You are looking live at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport of NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia, where the Antares rocket stands ready to launch a Cygnus cargo spacecraft carrying about 7,500 pounds of research, crew supplies, and hardware to the International Space Station. The launch attempt on Sunday was scrubbed due to a problem with ground support equipment at the launch site. And following the scrub Sunday, Antares was drained of its fuel, and engineers worked to correct the ground support equipment that caused the scrub. Then on Thursday, it was rotated horizontally to freshen time-critical payloads aboard the Cygnus cargo spacecraft. The vehicle was then rotated back into its vertical position, but the launch attempt yesterday was scrubbed before fueling began due to high winds. Today, fueling for Antares began about 45 minutes ago and now stands ready to send Cygnus to the International Space Station. The winds are looking much more favorable for launch today, with temperatures around 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Joining me on console today is Chad Davis, Northrop Grumman's Human Systems Integration and Operations Manager. Chad, can you tell us a little more about what caused the scrub on Sunday and what the teams did to resolve the issue?
Sure thing. Good afternoon. Basically, with the Antares vehicle on Sunday's scrub that we had, we experienced an off-nominal reading on part of the ground support equipment, which tripped a limit sensor. And so, in the precaution and per the flight rules, they went ahead and scrubbed the launch since we were that far into the countdown in that very close time to T-minus 3 minutes or so. And since that time, the crew out there with the Antares as well as the Cygnus team worked very hard to go ahead and take that equipment, replace it, do thorough testing of it to make sure we were good to go for today's activities. Actually, we're good to go for yesterday's activities had the winds been on our side. And also part of that allowed the opportunity to refresh the cargo that we talked about back on Sunday on that capability.
So with those issues now behind us, the teams in the Launch Control Center in Wallops Island, Virginia, those Northrop Grumman teams are monitoring systems on the Antares rocket and Cygnus spacecraft to ensure all systems are a go for launch today. Teams are reporting that all systems are in good shape up to this point for an on-time launch at 2:21 p.m. Central Time. And once Cygnus reaches its preliminary orbit, controls of the vehicle will be handed over to teams at Northrop Grumman's Mission Control Center in Dulles, Virginia. Teams are being led by Mission Director Zach Dwyer. Again, as soon as Cygnus separates from the rocket today, controls of that vehicle will be handed over to the flight controllers there in Dulles. And back in the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston, Texas, flight control teams are being led by Flight Director Ron Spencer. Teams here are monitoring systems on the International Space Station, ensuring all systems are a go for Cygnus launch today, working in tandem with teams in Dulles.
3, 2, 1, mark.
And I copied that.
Cygnus will arrive to the International Space Station after a 3-day journey on Tuesday, February 18th, where it will be installed on the Unity module's Earth-facing port. NASA's flight engineer Drew Morgan will use the Canadarm2 robotic arm to grapple the Cygnus spacecraft, backed up by Jessica Meir of NASA. Once the astronauts have captured the vehicle, they'll turn controls back over to teams here on the ground in Mission Control Houston, where the robotics officer will use the Canadarm2 to reposition the spacecraft and bring it toward the Unity module to install it to the International Space Station. Cygnus will remain attached to the station until May 11th, when it will depart the orbiting laboratory and complete some satellite deployments and additional objectives before disposing of several tons of trash during a fiery re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere on May 25th. Just 2 weeks ago, Northrop Grumman's Cygnus cargo vehicle from its 12th resupply mission, named the Alan Bean, departed the International Space Station after its 88-day stay. So when the 13th resupply mission launches today, Northrop Grumman will perform dual Cygnus capability for a 2-week period before its deorbit burn on February 29th. Still joined on console today by Chad Davis, Northrop Grumman's Human Systems Integration and Operations Manager. Chad, can you explain how Northrop Grumman teams manage 2 vehicles in flight at once?
Yeah, sure. We had developed the capability back whenever we knew we were going to fly the NG-11 vehicle for the extended period of time, and knew that that would overlap with the NG-12 mission. So the teams in the Mission Operations Center, as well as our ground segment folks, developed the software needed to be able to clearly identify two separate vehicles, so you knew which vehicle you were commanding and flying. And we went through multiple simulations to verify all those capabilities. And then we got the chance at the end of the NG-11 mission to test it out on 12, which now at this point, it's sort of standard operating procedure how we do it from this point going forward with future missions.
And each Cygnus spacecraft is named after influential individuals in the world of spaceflight, and the Cygnus spacecraft for this space station resupply mission is dedicated to U.S. Air Force Major Robert Lawrence, who was the first African-American astronaut selected by any program specifically chosen for the Air Force's Manned Orbital Laboratory program in June of 1967. Lawrence died in an F-104 Starfighter aircraft accident at Edwards Air Force Base 6 months later at the age of 32.
External power on.
FTS external power nominal. LC elect 2, FTS is safe, configuration verified, check channel being received.
Scattered clouds for launch back at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport at NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. Temperatures now about 36 degrees Fahrenheit.
LC Ops 1, FTSA and B, internal power on. FTSA, external power off. And B off. IRIG is 195210.
Going up on Cygnus today is about 7,500 pounds of research, crew supplies, and hardware. Within that cargo is 1,570 pounds of crew supplies, 2,129 pounds of science investigations, 179 pounds of spacewalk equipment, 3,501 pounds of vehicle hardware, and 66 pounds of computer resources.
LC elect 2, FTS arm indication received, FTS is currently indicating safe.
And FSO verify FTS arm indication.
FTS arm indication. LC.
And Courtney, I'd like to add to that manifest some fresh fruit. That was part of the changeover as they did the refresh. So the crew will be getting some fresh fruit and vegetables. I'm sure they'll be excited to see when Cygnus shows up.
Close ME2 VPG.
MES1 copies.
So hello, for those of you that are just joining us. If you're seeing all caps in the chat, sorry, my dogs know that me talking means food. We're playing bingo, and yes, please play bingo with us. There's no prizes. You get a shout out. It's just for fun. Anything that's on screen or said counts, and yeah, things and stuff. No, that's not Tinker, that's Puck. Tinker is the Tinker is the black dog.
There have also been various checks between flight controllers here in Houston and Dulles, Virginia to ensure everything is on track for an on-time launch today. Again, still on track for that launch, set to start at 2:21 p.m. Central Time, 3:21 p.m. Eastern.
I do have two dogs. You obviously hear one of them. That is Tinker whining. Yes, dogs barking is a thing. So follows, bits, subs, anything that creates a Streamlabs alert on my screen gets Cheerios thrown at the dogs. And yes, hi Starchface, yes, we are on track for an on-time launch. I'm trying to stay out of the way so you can hear the traffic, but sometimes it works. Cheerios! Alright. Make it rain! And make it rain! Alright, thank you! Thank you, Broken Symmetry. Alright, you can all cross off dogs barking.
Some upcoming milestones. About 12 minutes from launch, flight controllers will conduct a poll to proceed with the final launch countdown. In about 5 minutes from launch, the vehicle will switch to internal power. Then just about 3 minutes and 30 seconds before launch, auto sequence handoff for terminal countdown will be initiated. That'll mark the time the computers take over for the final milestones before launch. Approaching the 25-minute mark before launch.
Yes, ISS counts, or International Space Station counts for both ISS and international.
Currently at T-minus 25 minutes and counting. And Prop 2 want to proceed with step 367 at this time. You go to place OCCS in the SAC mode, pause the HSS ASC.
Prop 2 copies.
Okay, so we have DPI and AMAC Mellon winning a line bingo. Congratulations. Now we're going to move to a full card bingo. And if you've never played bingo, yes, the free square is free. That should be checked. And we're just going to fill all the squares. See who gets a full card bingo. If I look down, it's because I'm looking down at my call sheet and I'm trying to cross off everything. So sometimes these come on really fast. Yeah, they may not mention that. I forget who suggested that word, DPI.
LC Prop 2, HSS ASC resumed, OCCS in auto control mode.
Copy that. 2, we'll go ahead and check 370 and 371, and GNC 1 LC on countdown 1. Can you provide status of upper level winds?
LC, GNC 1, upper level winds are go.
Copy that, GNC 1. We'll check 372. Ops 1, LC countdown 1. Step 373, you're go to enable ME1 and ME2 TVC and EHA buses.
LC Ops 1 in work. LC Ops 1, TVC, and EHA buses enabled.
Roger. Ops 1, we'll check 373 complete. Site control LC, countdown 1.
Site control, go ahead.
Yeah, let's press with step 374, arm tel for rapid retract.
Copy that in work.
Now just under 22 minutes away from liftoff, and all systems are still on track for an on-time launch today.
And launch team, be advised, we are going to be waiving a constraint here. We'll get that briefed out in just a minute. At this time, I actually want to get a readiness for recalibration of engine pressure sensors. It's step 376, MES1. Yeah, MES1 on countdown 1.
MES1, countdown 1.
Yeah, MES1, I'd like to go ahead and get a recal of the engine pressure sensors. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, we're go for that.
EHS1?
EHS1 is go.
Copy that. Ops 1, step 377, recalibrate engine pressure sensors.
LC Ops 1 in work. LC Ops 1, engine pressure sensors recalibrated and ready for flight.
Copy that, Ops 1. Check 377 complete. And Ops 1, let's proceed with step 378, activate arm enable.
LC Ops 1, arm enable rotated, arm enable illuminated.
And arm stage 1 controller ODM.
Stage 1 controller ODM armed.
And set your stage 1 controller EPPV refs.
LC Ops 2. Stage 1 controller EPPV refs set.
Copy Ops 2, check 378, 379, 380 launch team. We've just passed our T-minus 20-minute mark and counting. We are going to be briefing out a waiver here in just a minute. I believe we have our management concurrence. And system LC on countdown 1.
LC system here.
Yeah, you go to coordinate final adjustment to the payload ECS temp point to target fairing air temp. If you would go ahead and use anomaly 2 to perform that with site control.
Copy. Copy and work.
LC, this is site control. Step 374 is complete.
Do that, site control. TEL, LC countdown 1.
LC TEL.
Yeah, can you confirm TEL armed for rapid retract?
TEL is armed for rapid retract.
Roger that. We'll check 375 complete.
LC system, countdown 1.
Go ahead, system.
Yeah, step 381 complete.
Copy that. We'll check 381 complete. And launch team, that does complete all of our steps in our propellant loading operations, currently at the start of our propellant top-off.
And launch team, this is LCA on countdown 1. Be advised, we do have engineering recommendation and launch director concurrence to waive the engine pre-burner surface temperature constraints. Those are constraint IDs 10.024, 10.025, and 10.026. Again, we'll be waiving constraint IDs 10.024 through 10.026 for the remainder of the countdown.
Now 17 minutes from liftoff, and all systems are still a go for an on-time launch today at 2:21 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, so somebody's asking, who was it asking? ARC is asking, they don't have a mission video? I guess they don't. Northrop Grumman owns both the payload and the rocket, but NASA's doing the broadcasting. And I don't know why there's not a mission video, but they let you listen to all the comms traffic, which is actually kind of nice. So I don't mind.
Is 11.
Copy that. Core 1, provide recommendation to F1N level.
LC, standby.
Cygnus, CMD, LC, countdown 1.
CMD.
You go to transfer Cygnus to internal power and report when complete.
In work.
No, this is an uncrewed rocket. We try not to use the word manned anymore because it does give people the wrong idea that only men can be astronauts. It's just, it's, I know some people are going to be like, that's a weird snowflakey, no, it's important that we say that it's not crewed. There's no, to the best of my knowledge, there's no robots on this. There might be lab animals. I think there's actually brine shrimp on this mission. Those are literally sea monkeys, for those of you that know what sea monkeys are. I think there is a experiment that has brine shrimp. There might be some mice. But yeah, we use the term crewed, and there's no humans on this rocket. There won't be humans on a rocket launch from the US for a little bit. I would have to check exactly when. So I'm actually going to see when the next crewed spacecraft is going to be. Hello, Andy.
We'll proceed with our final countdown today. Ops 2, LC, countdown 1.
Go ahead, LC.
Let's go ahead and initiate step 387. You can initiate FIV position override.
Override complete.
Copy that, Ops 2. We'll check 387 complete.
Again, we're standing by now for that 12-minute mark before launch, where flight controllers will conduct a poll to proceed with the final launch countdown.
About 1 minute from our final poll. Today, I want to give kudos out to our Ops 1 and Ops 2 team today. And Franz, it's almost time to say goodbye to Hans. And CMD, do you have status on internal power?
Yes, we're on internal power nominal.
Copy that, CMD. We'll check 386. Okay, launch team LC, countdown 1, step 388. Hold to proceed with final countdown. GSO?
GSO, go.
RSO?
RSO's go.
TD? TD's go. Prop lead?
Prop lead is go.
Stage 1?
Stage 1 and team is go.
MES1?
MES1 is go.
GCE?
GCE is go.
ACE?
ACE is go.
Mars?
Mars is go.
CMD?
CMD is go.
LD?
LD is go.
And NG?
In honor of Major Robert Lawrence, whose courage and sacrifice in the name of space exploration will inspire generations of people from all backgrounds to reach for the stars, Northrop Grumman is go.
And I copy that, NG. We'll go to proceed with final countdown. And launch team, be advised, step 389 will not be required, and step 390 will not be required. Step 391 will not be required.
You just heard the poll to proceed with the final countdown to launch, and all teams are a go. Just under 11 minutes now from launch, and everything is still proceeding smoothly for an on-time launch at 2:21 p.m. Central Time, 3:21 p.m. Eastern. Once we get to that launch time, the first thing that will occur is the Stage 1 ignition, and you'll see liftoff just a few seconds after that. And those two main engines will burn for about 3 minutes and 28 seconds before cutting off, and Stage 1 will separate. Cygnus will coast for a bit until fairing separation, when the external cover that protects the spacecraft during launch will separate.
LC, countdown 1, we're going to go ahead and perform the main engine FIV opening checklist. You are going to proceed on steps Q1 Q2, and Q3.
And Alps 2 copies. Opening VZD on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. And IR time 20:10:52.
Copy Q1.
The interstage adapter that connects the first and second stages will separate at 4 minutes and 14 seconds into flight before stage 2 ignition, which is a solid rocket fuel that will burn for 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Once the second stage burns out, we'll be listening for the call of orbital insertion at 7 minutes and 4 seconds after launch. The vehicle will coast for 2 minutes before Cygnus separation at 9 minutes and 4 seconds after liftoff. At the time of launch, the International Space Station will be flying 258 statute miles over the Western Pacific. Then solar array deploy is expected to occur just about an hour and 19 minutes after launch.
And Ops 1 LC, countdown 1.
Go ahead, LC.
Yeah, let's kick off step 392. You go to enable your ACS VDMs.
LC Ops 1, ACS VDMs, internal power on.
How do you turn it on speaker?
ACS VDMs enabled, voltage nominal, ODM commands clear.
Copy that, elect 1. We'll check 392 and 393. We have a hot mic on countdown 1.
So this is the official countdown. Oh, okay. This is what Daniel's
LC
logged
Ops
into.
2, VRG activated.
He said if you turn that
Copy
one off
Ops 2, hot mic on countdown 1.
and publicly, this is the internal control panel. No.
LC Ops 2, VZD closed.
LC site control, GN2 conditioning initiated.
Copy that, site control. We'll check 394 and Q3. And MES1, report FIB position status.
LC MES1, FIB is indicating open.
Okay, copy that, MES1.
Yeah.
And Ops 2, you go for Q5, deactivate BRG.
Yeah, I turned it off. We're just here looking.
BRG deactivated.
Copy all. That completes our main engine FIB opening checklist.
Okay, we turned it off. Yeah, we did. We hung up.
LC prop lead, VPSO activation verified.
I copy that, prop lead. Ops 2, step 396, initialize ground ordnance power supplies.
Ground ordnance power supplies initialized.
And ground ordnance power supply is nominal.
Copy that, elect 1, check 396 and 397.
LC site control, AFA ECS transfer to GN2 confirmed.
Roger that, site control. Check 398. And step 399 is not required for today's operation. And launch team, we're at T-minus 5 minutes and counting. Ops 1, step 400. You go to transfer avionics to internal power.
LC Ops 1, avionics internal power on, stand by for command completion. External power off.
And LC Elect 1, internal power is nominal.
Roger that. Elect 1, Ops 1, you can open your FTS umbiloop and verify green indication.
LC Ops 1, FTS umbiloop open and green.
LC Elect 2, FTLU and FTS receiver indications are nominal.
Roger that. Elect 2, Ops 1, step 404, send all arm command.
LC Ops 1, all arm command sent.
LC Elect 1, SNAs, ODMs all armed.
Copy. Elect 1, we're at T-minus 4 minutes and counting. NASA TD, report range status.
Range is green.
Roger that. TD, range is green. And launch team, be advised, step 407 will not be required for today's operation. And we're passing T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Phase 3 dynamic limits will be active at T-minus 3 minutes.
FC command into flight mode. Auto sequence start. ODM bus voltages and currents nominal.
Roger that. Elect 1, GNC1, verify ready for nav mode.
LC GNC1, orb nav ready for nav.
Ops 2, switch to nav.
LC Ops 2, switch to nav.
LC GNC1, orb nav telemetry verified.
Roger that. GNC1, check 415. And launch team, we're passing T-minus 2 minutes. And T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds. Mark. And T-minus 1 minute. Mark.
"40 seconds until liftoff."
T-minus 30 seconds. Mark.
"20 seconds till liftoff."
T-minus 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Engine start. Liftoff and Perry's NG-13 mission for Wallops Flight Facility. Engines at 100%. Attitude nominal. TVC's nominal. Core pressures are nominal. Engine chamber pressures are nominal. Attitude nominal. Power subsystem nominal. Altitude 10,000 feet. Attitude nominal. Core system performance nominal. Engine and TVC systems nominal. Velocity 1,100 feet per second. Attitude continues nominal. Max Q, attitude nominal. Power subsystem continues nominal. Altitude 50K feet. Engine steady, 100%. Core BNG3 activated. Attitude nominal. 3,000 feet per second. Attitude nominal.
Coming up on 2 minutes into the flight, they've passed maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Engine and TVC system remains nominal. 100,000 feet altitude.
2 minutes into flight.
Core pressures nominal. Engine steady, 100%.
A minute and a half to go in first stage performance.
Attitude nominal. 150K feet altitude. Engine steady, pressures nominal. $8,000 feet per second. Core pressures are nominal. Engines at 100%.
Coming up on 3 minutes into flight.
Low throttle down initiated. MECO slew maneuver initiated. Attitude nominal. Engines at 55% and nominal. $14,000 feet per second. Main engine cutoff.
Main engine cutoff confirmed. Standing by for stage 1 separation.
Upper ACS enabled. Stage 1 SEP.
Stage 1 separation confirmed. The next milestone is fairing separation, which will come in about 40 seconds.
Altitude 100 kilometers. Roughly 15 seconds to stage 2 ignition.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Fairing separation.
4 minutes into flight.
Interstage separation.
Interstage separation confirmed.
Attitude nominal. Stage 2 ignition.
And stage 2 ignition is confirmed. Stage 2 is that solid rocket fuel that will burn for about 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Burnout will come about 7 minutes and 9 seconds into flight.
Stage 2 will burn for roughly 2 more minutes. Power subsystem nominal. Stage 2 attitude nominal. Stage 2 TVC system performance nominal. Power subsystems continue nominal. FTS nominal.
FTS.
TVC nominal. Roughly 100 seconds till stage 2 burnout.
Sto sekundy. Na któryś sekund.
Vehicle systems nominal. TVC system performance nominal. Attitude nominal. Roughly 1 minute to stage 2 burnout. 6 kilometers per second velocity, 183 kilometers altitude.
Hot mic on countdown 1. Hot mic.
Vehicle performance nominal. Good attitude. Good power subsystems. 30 seconds to stage 2 burnout. System continues to perform nominally, heading into burnout. Stage 2 burnout.
Stage 2 burnout confirmed. Cygnus now moving about 16,822 miles per hour.
ACS enabled. Beginning maneuver to acquire payload separation attitude. Power nominal. The vehicle will continue to coast until conditions are met for payload separation.
Cygnus separation will come about 9 minutes and 4 seconds into flight.
Attitude nominal, roughly 1 minute to payload separation. ACS and power subsystems nominal, attitude nominal. Altitude, 197 kilometers. 30 seconds to payload separation. Vehicle subsystems continue to operate nominal. Roughly 15 seconds to payload separation.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The wireless customer you called is not available at this time. Please try your call again later. Announcement 1, switch 170-3.
We have payload separation.
Welcome to Verizon.
And spacecraft separation confirmed.
Called is not available at this time. Please try your call again later. Announcement 1,
Beginning
switch
C-cam maneuver.
170-3.
And Cygnus is now on its way to the International Space Station, where it will arrive in 3 days on Tuesday, February 18th. I'm still joined on console here by Chad Davis of Northrop Grumman. Chad, what will the Northrop Grumman teams do here on the ground until Cygnus arrives to the space station?
From this point moving forward, now that Cygnus is separated from the upper stage, the team in MCC Dallas that we saw earlier, Zach Dwyer, the current mission director, followed by Paul Brower, the second shift mission director, will be making sure all the systems are nominal, going through, getting the solar arrays deployed, initializing the prop system, and essentially starting to play catch-up with the International Space Station.
And looking forward to Cygnus departure on May 11th, Cygnus will perform some secondary operations. Can you go over some of those?
Sure. Yeah, once we depart the ISS, we typically perform a burn to climb up to a little bit higher altitude, and then we have different payloads on board, microsat, CubeSat deploys we typically do, and for this particular mission, we have the Sapphire, or the fire experiment that we talked about on Sunday, provided by the Glenn Research Center, and we'll actually set off that experiment to measure different interactions of fire and microgravity, and that will occur inside Cygnus post-deploy. So those are two of the main activities that we do, along with some other what we call lessons learned that we gain more and more experience flying the vehicle.
All right, Chad, thank you for joining us today, and here shortly we'll be talking to Joel Montalbano, International Space Station Deputy Program Manager.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my, they have just cut like all the audio, they've cut all the video, they're just giving us the static view of the launch site because they've had issues with hot mics. Somebody tried to call an out-of-service Verizon number, and the 3D animation at the end just went nuts.
Now joining me on console is Joel Montalbano, International Space Station Deputy Program Manager. Joel, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to be here. Awesome launch today.
Cygnus is in orbit en route to the station for its arrival on Tuesday, so how important was today's launch in terms of continuing resupply of the station and the science it is delivering to the crew on board?
You know, we meticulously plan every one of the missions going to the International Space Station, and today's mission is no different. We have hardware on board that will continue the robust science and research program we have on board the space station. We also have equipment on board that will continue the development of commercialization of low Earth orbit. And we have hardware on board that helps us in exploration. It helps us buy down risk for the Artemis program as we return to the moon and go even further.
And the Northrop Grumman Flight Control Team continues to be busy managing Cygnus's launch today, its journey to the station, and the previous Cygnus that will remain in orbit for the next 2 weeks, serving as a science platform. How impressive is the ability of these commercial flight control teams to multitask in support of station operations?
You know, we have a really good relationship with Northrop Grumman and all our domestic partners and international partners, and it's a partnership. We work together to one, fulfill the NASA contract that we have with these companies, as well as to help them meet their company objectives on board. You know, for one example is this mission was scheduled about 2 months from now, and NASA had the need to move it up. We worked with the Northrop Grumman team. We were able to move it up into this time frame, and what you saw today was just an awesome launch and a result of some of that work and an example of the great partnership we have.
And no time to rest for the station program, with SpaceX almost 2 weeks from its next cargo run to the station and a Soyuz crew rotation to follow in the early to mid-April timeframe. As always, how complex will the next few months be for the station program and the global partnership?
You know, this year we're going to celebrate 20 years of continuing human presence aboard the International Space Station. And one of the coolest things about working on Space Station is the next 2 months are always busy. You know, following this launch today, we'll have a berthing early next week. Looking forward in March, we'll have a SpaceX cargo mission launching to the International Space Station. Going to April, we'll have a Soyuz mission.
All right, so I'm just going to run down my list of things that I know were called off. Dogs barking, NASA, food, Robert Lawrence, Tinker stealing a soul, because she did it briefly, Cygnus, Wallops, Max Q, go for launch, any mention of the weather, T-minus, locks, liftoff, resupply, first stage separation, Northrop Grumman and Terry's, any mention of scrubber delay, mission, 24-hour cargo refresh or last-minute loading, ISS, experiments, MECO, astronauts, orbit, international, Mars, fairing separation, people cheering on camera, science, upper-level winds, nominal, Canada arm. They said installing, so we're going to call that berthing or docking, and then Virginia. So if you had berthing, cross it off, because they're obviously not using berthing, they're using installing. I didn't hear them call water. I forget what caster even was. They probably called internal power, so cross off internal power if you have it. Yeah, I don't even remember what caster was. A. McMullen says, I saw a bird fauna. Okay, cool, so there was local fauna. Local fauna on camera. I see a person moving around. We can call that local fauna. Let's see. Oh, I bet you that's the engines, isn't it? Not everybody talks about the engines. So, yeah. Totally saw a human in its local habitat. Yeah. I really wonder what kind of hat that guy has on, because I wonder if it's meant to look like a spacecraft or anything. I can't remember the shape of Cygnus's solar panels. I can't remember if they're circular or if they're rectangular, because I wonder if it's meant to look like, you know, the Cygnus craft. So let's actually check that out real quick. Oh, caster's the second stage. Okay. Oh, okay, so that's what he has. I bet you that is a Cygnus hat. Yes, Hanny, humans are known to launch rockets and forget to turn off their mics. Or, for, you know, when Pamela and I are broadcasting, we forget to turn on our mics. Totally different problem. That's a big stretch, human. That's a big stretch.
Just to recap, Cygnus lifted off from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Wallops Island, Virginia at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, Pad 0A, on time today at 2:21 p.m. Central Time, 3:21 p.m. Eastern to begin its journey to the International Space Station.
And there she is. She is properly stealing a soul. I know she's not looking directly at the camera. That's because I've moved the camera location, but there Tinker is directly stealing a soul, in case you've never seen it. And because I've been training her to do this, I throw Cheerios. So she's just out of camera range. Oh, she's in camera range now. Eating all the Cheerios. Puck has been known to be food aggressive, so that's why she's not always around while Puck is hoovering everything up. Uncle Bill says, this is why you hire a proper full-time video media engineer to build an entire team and system for streaming your launches. Some people think that's too much money.
So again, Cygnus lifted off from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Wallops Island, Virginia at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, Pad 0A, on time at 2:21 p.m. Central Time, 3:21 p.m. Eastern, to begin its journey to the International Space Station, where it will deliver about 7,500 pounds of research, crew supplies, and hardware. At the time of launch, the International Space Station was flying 258 statute miles over the western Pacific, northeast of the northern Mariana Islands. Solar array deploy is expected to occur about an hour and 19 minutes after launch, so within the next hour, if all goes as planned, Cygnus will complete its solar array deployment, which will take about 30 minutes, and once that activity is complete, we will update the station webpage on nasa.gov. With Cygnus now on its way to the International Space Station, we hope you'll join us back on air when Cygnus arrives to the station in the early morning on Tuesday, February 18th. NASA's television coverage for Cygnus arrival and capture will begin at 1:30 a.m. Central, 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time for a capture around 3:05 a.m. Central, 4:05 a.m. Eastern. Then we'll be back on air at 5 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Eastern for Cygnus installation operations coverage. With Cygnus now safely on its way to the International Space Station to deliver about 7,500 pounds of cargo, that'll wrap up our coverage for today. This is Mission Control Houston.
Okay. So Hanny asks, will it be bringing... Oh, wow. They weren't messing around. Okay. Okay, we're going to mute that. Hanny asks if it's going to bring back stuff the astronauts don't need anymore. Yes and no. Cygnus does not do re-entry. It burns up on re-entry, so it is after... It's going to release CubeSats on its way down. But after it releases the CubeSats, it's pretty much a flying trash can. It's literally full of stuff that's just garbage. You know, food wrappings, solid human waste, because there's literally things for solid human waste. And yeah, things and stuff. So it is a flying, flaming trash can at the end of the day. And that's okay, because we need some way to get rid of all of the trash that does accumulate on the ISS. So, but things like living science experiments won't come back down on that. They'll come back down on the Crew Dragon. So, yeah. Yep, and Dr. Pamela's off to clean her basement. And I don't see anything else. So the next rocket launch is tomorrow. It is tomorrow. Let me pull that up. So I scrolled way down. Next rocket launch is tomorrow morning at 10:25 a.m. I'm not sure who's going to cover that because it's really early for me. So Hanny asks, oh, there is solid waste. What about liquid waste? Most human liquid waste gets recycled. Most of it. There's elements in human liquid waste or urine, if you're not sure what euphemism I'm talking about. There's parts in urine that can't be reused, and I'm not sure if those are solidified out or they're just pulled out a different way. I'm talking mostly about urea. And I believe that would be, I feel like that would be concentrated and to remove as much water as possible, and probably does go down in the flying trash cans. Yeah, I don't know. Tardy Toe says, makes me think that the zero waste influencers must be faking omitting a lot of stuff if the ISS can't do it. The great thing about being here on Earth is that we have recycling places, because there's still going to be waste. It's just what you do with it. The ISS does not compost. The ISS can't really recycle a whole lot of things. They just don't have, the capacity to. It's very limited spot that we've made habitable in space. There is no, recycling truck that comes by to take all of the, I don't think there's glass, but to take all of the plastic that they use and things of that nature. But as far as I know, there's no composting on the ISS. It'd be kind of cool. It would be a neat science experiment. Kenny asked, would composting work in space? And I was actually just wondering about that. I don't know if composting needs gravity. I don't know if it works in microgravity. There's a lot of things that go into compost, along with you need some kind of microbes to break everything down. You also need, as Broken Symmetry points out, gas control, because there are some gases that are let off by decomposition that aren't exactly good to breathe, and there's a limited oxygen supply on the ISS. They have CO2 materials too. So yeah, and Ark is saying because you need to settle the materials, I think, and heat. Sometimes decomposition produces its own heat. I'm thinking of like when I was younger and we mowed our huge backyard and we bagged everything, and the bags on the mower had to be dumped, and we just had this pile of grass clippings, and that heated up without any external bits. I'm thinking the way to just to settle the materials is to kind of compress it a little. So, because here on gravity, or here on Earth, you'd use the force of gravity to compress everything, but if you don't have microgravity, I guess you just kind of squish it together. I don't know. That would be an interesting rabbit hole to go down another day. But I don't think I have time to go down that rabbit hole today. But yeah, that there are reusability problems and so on and so forth in ISS. The early days of ISS, they did a lot of like impromptu recycling. Like they wanted to make a table or something, they made a table out of materials that were already there. So recycling does happen on the ISS, just not the way that we're used to. It's more like repurposing. So, and that is the second part of reduce, reuse, recycle. All right, so thank you everybody for tuning in for the launch. I'm happy it actually took off this time. Astro Wise says, come here. Oh, so these are, I keep forgetting about the delay too. Ark says you really can't squish it either because you need oxygen for aerobic, I have to not look at it, aerobic bacterias. I'm sure there might be a way. And Limp Rimble asks, what's the point? What are they going to use the composted material for? That's actually a really good point. They could add water, like gray water, and use it in the hydroponic system, because they do grow fruits and vegetables, mostly leafy greens. I shouldn't say fruits and vegetables. They grow mostly leafy greens because leafy greens don't require a lot of nutrients to grow. Like with tomatoes, you have to have so much nutrients or things just don't work out well. And tomatoes are very heavy feeders, so to speak. And leafy greens don't require a lot of that. You can grow leafy greens like on top of your aquarium if you have an aquarium with fish. So yeah, they grow leafy greens. There might be some herbs. I don't know about that. But ARC is clarifying lettuce and such. Lettuce, I think they use some mustard greens, cabbage, anything that's like mostly leafy. So they could use the liquid compost to feed the hydroponics as a way to just reclaim materials. But if they're discarding things like meat, that's hard to compost, and things of others and other such. Larry says, can carrots grow hydroponically or potatoes? Technically, yes. It's tricky. I tried once, but there was a cat in the house at the same time. Haney's also asked, I wonder if carrots could grow in space. I don't know. I don't know enough about things that have been grown in microgravity. I know there's been experiments. I know that the leafy greens seem to do well because they've had multiple missions, so to speak, of growing the leafy greens. And the astronauts seem to really like it. Oh, they're doing tests on soil with urine. That's actually really cool. So, yeah, ARC says, I don't think tubers works in hydroponics, although I've never tried it. I've tried carrots and radishes, but I had a cat that thought that that was another litter box, so yeah. That's actually really cool. Baryonic Man says the University of Wagen... anyways, a university in the Netherlands has done tests of growing veggies in Moon and Mars soil, and they recently are doing tests in soil with urine. And yes, as AstroWise points out, there is a garden in Antarctica. It is in a whole separate building, and it's been shown as a way to introduce more nutrients into the Antarctic people, things, the Antarctic crew's diet. It's also shown to improve morale and well-being, just being around plants. And yeah, it's been pretty cool. There's been a lot of science done, but I don't know all of the science. And another thing about composting in the ISS is that means that there's leftover food. The astronauts should be eating all of their food because everything is very carefully, measured out for their caloric intake. So, yeah, I don't even know if there is anything at compost. Maybe like orange peels. So, Gem Doctor points out that there is no soil on the moon or Mars because there's nothing growing there to make it. I think they're talking about, he's talking about lunar soil as most lay people think of soil as like the lunar dust that's on the surface. And the stuff on the surface of the moon is not kind to a lot of things. It's not very things. Yeah. Lunar and Mars dust simulant. So, yeah, I think I've seen some papers about that. All of it's pretty cool, and these are important things to ask and to investigate because of, our desire to do future space missions and to do longer space missions. If you can pack seeds and grow the seeds, that's a whole lot easier than packing a whole lot of extra food. So, yeah. And regolith is... Now there's some talk about geology stuff that is a little beyond me. So Haney thinks it's lunar soil is regolith, I think because of lack of organics. Gem Doctor says regolith is a rock blanket. And Arc adds, and regolith is basically solid magma. So yeah, this is a bit too much geology for me. Geology is super cool, but that's a bit beyond me. Oh yeah, there's a poisonous component in the Mars regolith. I did not know that. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. Yes, Hannies. Yeah, oak trees come from those little acorns. Perchlorate. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something. Hilo asks, isn't there some solid sponge-like things you can grow plants in? Yes! It's called rock wool, and it is used in hydroponics and things of that nature. So, bye Nancy. Yes, it's called rock wool. It's good for certain types of hydroponics, and it's also good for starting, seedlings that you're going to put in different types of hydroponics later, because no, stop. Okay, so any other questions? This is indeed a fascinating topic, but I feel very underqualified to speak about it. Baryonyx Man says, I could try if the researcher from this experiment could join the weekly space hangout. Last time I asked, he didn't have time. Sure, go. There's no harm in asking. You may ask when a better time is, because if he has more time, like, in the future, that might be a better choice. But yeah, absolutely do that. And Tinker's staring into our souls again. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining us. Y'all have been amazing. This was a hilarious stream, and it was worth every moment of ruining my expensive mascara for, because oh my. Yetik says, I'd like to keep my soul. And Puck just shook Cheerios out of his fur. Yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Y'all are hilarious. So yeah, I have been your host, Annie Wilson. This was a rocket launch, and yeah, things and stuff. Oh no, the one thing that I didn't want to show up showed up. Oh well, I tried. So yeah, I have to think and rewind. This has been a production of PSI, that's Planetary Science Institute, working in collaboration with Youngstown State University here in... It's sunny outside again today. Youngstown, Ohio. Our producer is Susie Murph. Our fearless leader is Dr. Pamela Gay. And we are here most Sundays through Fridays at 800 hours UTC. Right now that's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And Sundays is myself, coloring space telescope data. Mondays through Fridays is Daily Space, with Wednesdays being Rocket Wednesdays. And am I forgetting anything? Oh yeah, we're here because of you. We are here because of all your support, so thank you. Thank you for all of that. Thank you for, impressing my nephew, because he thinks I have the coolest job ever. Ways you can support us. If you have a couple extra bucks, you can become our Patreon, or you can become our patron. Words are hard, y'all. You can become a patron on our Patreon. There we go. You can subscribe to here on Twitch. You can donate bits. I think there's a way you can donate through PayPal. Yeah. If you can't afford to do any of that, that's okay. Follows are free. Subscribing to our YouTube channel is free. And telling your friends, family, and enemies about us is also free. So, as a reminder, the launch tomorrow is at 10:25 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm not sure who's going to cover that yet, because that's awfully early for me. And the launch is indeed more Starlink satellites. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's all the things that I need to say. Thank you, everybody, for all your support, your patience, your company. Yeah. And until next time, keep being awesome, and wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful insert time of day here. Bye!